tonight is 1,820. 1,818 yesterday, and it was 19. Um, it's a lot of days. It's a lot of days since Richard was forcibly removed from his barracks room on Fort Bliss as a U.S. Army soldier, whistleblower, aspiring to be CID, and he was forcibly removed against his will, and his life was taken from him on Fort Bliss. On Fort Bliss. And he told us, Mom, Dad, it is so bad. It is so bad what's going on. It is so bad. And we knew what that meant because we had had discussions with him. So he knew, we knew, we didn't know how bad it was. It's kind of like this whole Dan Bongino statement today. Um, it's bad, um, because in your lifestyle, in our life, in our family's life, that's how the enemy that are so dark, that are so evil, can take advantage of those that try to hit the mark every day in the right way, right? What is the chief end of man? To glorify God and enjoy Him forever. That is our aim every day, to glorify God and enjoy Him forever. This is our chief end. And so we're always trying to hit that mark. And other things just don't seem to matter to us, um, like it does to these very evil criminals who have a whole different target. Our target is very different from their target, and their life is about criminal trafficking. Their life is about money laundering. Their life is about getting over on their husband or wife or their children, or what you would not believe. You would not believe what we have uncovered. It is it is so terrible. And that's why it's very easy for us to fight for life, to you know, e- be for children, right? To be for our military, before even getting in debt for our military, to for our country. Why do you think that we are over $37 trillion in debt? Because the evil people have said, "Oh, for the children, oh, for national security, oh, for this, oh, for that, oh, uh, because you might get sick, you might die, you might this, you might that." Uh, you know, they uh, they have misled with deception in order to commit grand theft larceny, and put our country in a bad state, and breach our national security, risk our national security. It is so clear, and their lifestyles. Look at Hunter Biden when he came on that interview, and ask yourself if he would have gotten away with that 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 30 years ago. No way, 50 years. No way would he get away with that. We have descended to a point where we tolerate something like that. There's people talking about him running for president. I mean, how gross, how disgusting, this vile and vulgar man, even though, he's calling out his own party, right? He's calling out his own party because that's not what matters to him. Loyalty doesn't matter to him. You know, it's it's only him. It's only him that matters to him. And that is very clear in that interview. And it's so interesting to hear people's take on it. It's just unacceptable. Just unacceptable for those that care about the chief end of man, that care about hitting the mark of everything that is good and right in this world, right? That's what you try to aim for. Everything that is good and right in this world. Um, and even though it might interfere in your own happiness, in your own success, in your own um, uh, um, CV, I guess, your own aspiring um, dreams, right? Even if it doesn't match, you try to hit that mark anyway, and that's where faith comes in. Because you say, okay, I can put this aside because God knows the way. God knows the way through faith. I'm going to follow Him. I'm going to do what's right. I'm going to glorify God and enjoy Him forever. And He will bring the joy. He will bring the joy. And, there's that song, thank God for unanswered prayers, right? Thank God for unanswered prayers because you think, no, I have to do it this way because then this is how it's going to work out. And you force your way and you disregard God. You disregard what's good. You get greedy. You fall into a trap. And the next thing you know, you're totally miserable and everything falls apart. It doesn't work out the way you thought it would. And then you don't even like it. Maybe it's because of a degree or something, a job or something. If I just can get that job, and then you get in the job and you're like, I don't even like this. I don't even like this. And I've just disregarded God to get into this, and I don't even like it. So once you learn that lesson of, the chief and a man, then you understand that disregarding your own desires, your own thinking, your own solutions, but always trying to hit that mark becomes way more important. Hitting that mark, and it becomes a duty. It becomes a duty. It becomes, um, it becomes joy. It really becomes joy. Then you whistle while you work. You whistle while you wash dishes. You whistle while you clean your house. When you go to your job, everything seems better. Everything seems better. And that's why I've had so many people say, how can you do this? How can you be so strong? It's not my strength, it's God's strength, it's His timing. And at the beginning of this 5 years ago, I had no idea. We had no idea what the level of evil that was surrounding um, the the crime against our son. We had no idea the level of evil. We knew that it was a crime. We knew, and we knew it was big. And as time went by, it got bigger and bigger and bigger. And the crime, the evidence confirmed it got more and more diabolical, so evil. And so here we are at Dan Bongino. Dan Bongino, I've been following him for a long time, many years, and very successful with his Rumble, with his podcast, and all of that, and very true to MAGA, very true to making America great again. Um, and, I don't know about his personal life or anything. I do know that he knows about Richard. I do know that he cares about Richard's case. I know that. And so when he was made deputy for the FBI, champagne bottles popped in our house. Champagne bottles popped in our house because we knew that he knew. And he knows about Richard. He knows about El Paso. He knows about the Walmart mass shooting. He knows. But he's just a man, right? And he has to know the level of evil. Um, and how can you? How can you know? But once he became deputy of the FBI, of course, of course, files are going to be open to him. And I can't even imagine because just in El Paso, just Fort Bliss, hundreds of thousands of children were being trafficked through Fort Bliss, through the death camp, with taxpayer funds, with taxpayer money. This is what the evil people do. They're really big schemers and they control the media. And because they control the media, they do this like hypnosis on the population and say, "Oh, for the migrant children, we need to have this camp," and then nobody does oversight, and the next thing you know, you have hundreds of thousands of children that are missing, that are absolutely missing, with no chain of custody for where they went. No chain of custody. And then all of a sudden, we have munitions that disappear. We have, uh, you know, all kinds of compromised tactics going into our barracks to weaken our military, which is a total national security risk. And it, when you dive into all of that, it gets so evil. So I can't even imagine what he has seen, and now he puts it out. But you have to read between the lines, right? You read between the lines, and he's saying he will never be the same. Um, and and he's saying that on the same time that President Trump is going to Turnberry, Scotland, the the birthplace, the land where Robert the Bruce walked. And it gives you chills. It gives you chills because if you know about Robert the Bruce's life, this king, this, um, he- and everything that he went through, and winning victory for Scotland against England, um, the whole history of that during a time when England, where Great Britain now, is going to have to fight for its sovereignty. So here we are in in that same time period, and a lot of people don't know this, but the direct descendant of Robert the Bruce is Robert E. Lee. So, and I knew this because of homeschooling and living in Ireland, and just loving the history of Scotland and that whole um, area that we were so fortunate to enjoy for many years, teaching that, and then finding out that Robert the Bruce is the forefather of Robert E. Lee. And you're like, what? Wow. And then President Trump buying Turnberry, um, it gives you an insight to that Spider Man thinking, right? Never give up, never give up, never give up. The winning mentality to never give up, to do the right thing, even though the odds may be totally impossible and not in your favor. And that's in the case of Robert E. Lee. But my goodness, he was just a amazing strategist, amazing strategist. And who's an amazing strategist? President Trump. And his mother um, uh, was Scottish. And you're thinking, oh my gosh, was his mother in the line of Robert the Bruce, that amazing uh, line that you never give up, right? And you're a strategist, um, and you're just very patient because spiders are very, very patient, right? So it's just the winning mentality, and there we have it. You've got President Trump at Turnberry making our family think of Robert the Bruce and Robert E. Lee and the winning mentality, the never giving up. Um, and then you have Dan Bongino absolutely knowing, and President Trump does too, um, absolutely knowing who Richard Halliday is and giving us a code. It's a code that justice is here. Justice is here. He will never be the same. We'll never be the same because justice has been so thwarted for so long. And now justice is here. And we will never be the same. He'll never be the same. And so I think that that is such a huge message in the middle of our um, fight pursuit to get Lalani Hart arrested. She absolutely needs to be arrested with so many others, right? With so many others, but she absolutely needs to be arrested. I mean, she's just a total criminal, and they have all probable cause to arrest her. There's just no option for them not to arrest her unless they want to be negligent, right? So, and we're very happy that Ernest Christopher Grant was arrested. That is amazing, amazing. And that tells you um, that President Trump absolutely knows about the Walmart mass shooting, the deception around it, and also the deception around Richard's case that's intertwined in those cases, and asserting pressure, asserting so much pressure. And I hope that what we have been accomplishing asserts pressure from the other side, right? It's kind of like um, a whitehead is zit, and you're pushing it from both sides, and it's popping, and then you get the Patrick Crucius interrogation, right? That gets excreted out there. The Patrick Crucius um, interrogation, which is pretty pussy. But it has a lot of information in it, a lot of information. It is so damning to Bob Moore of El Paso Matters and the media. It is so damning. The one time that Bob Moore reached out, the one time, because we've been trying to get him to communicate, over 15 times. And the one time that he reaches out is on my live stream after I was saying that Patrick Crucius has autism, and he gets on there. No, he doesn't have autism. Uh, you're just a conspiracy theorist. No, I'm a teacher. I've been around a lot of children. I've been around a lot of children with autism. I was in special education in my teaching career, and I worked with autistic children. I know what autistic children are like, and he fits it. And of course, in this interrogation, he admits it. But what is really, he admits it, and he has so many disabilities, right? He has a mental health condition, a very severe mental health condition, and then he has autism on top of that severe mental health condition. Then he is blind without his glasses. You take his glasses off, he's blind. He has to hold everything up really, um, uh, near, which, okay, whatever. I need my glasses too. But the thing is he is supposed to have been this amazing marksman, right? He is supposed to have been this amazing marksman in 3 minutes. In 3 minutes, where 23 individuals were lost their lives, and you had dozens more that were injured. And how can it, it just doesn't make sense, right? um and then, of course, um the ear sensitivity. The senses are really sensitive in autistic individuals, and he had to put the headsets on, right? The headsets, those earmuffs, are tactical. They're tactical, and then these tactical earmuffs and headsets, which they did not show us his, right? They did not show us. We didn't have a trial, but because I'm hearing in the military, they have comms in them. They have communication abilities. And so we see, even through that little bit of interrogation on that same day, that Patrick Crucius has so many cognitive problems that he has to be led, right? Because he's saying 4chan, 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 4chan. And his manifesto wasn't uploaded to 4chan, it was uploaded to 8chan. And so, they're leaving the room, they come back, and something happened, and they have to sneak in 8chan in there. But he's saying 8chan, I mean 4chan, 4chan, he's even spelling it out. Um, so something he it absolutely has to be led. This is not an interrogation. We've had many people. We're still waiting for more analysts to come back with this, uh, their um, their opinion on this interrogation, and everyone that we have gotten back, because we like to get many opinions. We like to get many opinions, and not one of them believes that Patrick Crucius could have acted alone. He has too many disabilities. He has fine motor coordination disabilities. He has eyesight disabilities. He has cognitive disabilities. He has hearing, sensory disabilities. He has all of those um, problems, and yet he has all the connections. He has all the connections, and in El Paso, he has connections in the DA's office. He has connections in the FBI office. He has connections in the Walmart mass shooting, as the Walmart cybersecurity. He has connections in the federal courthouse. He has connections in Texas Tech University Health Science Center. He has connections um, a- um, in the mental health. He has connections in the cartel. He has connections everywhere in the magistrate court. He has connections. They knew, and he has connections in the media, and they absolutely covered for him for 6 years, while taxpayers had to pay millions and millions of dollars, and that the election was absolutely affected. The election in El Paso was absolutely affected by the narrative. This narrative that divided races, right? Because they said it was racist. They said it was white supremacy. It said it was a hate crime. And absolutely no way, no way. The major target was a German national, Alexander Gerhard Hofmann-Roth. And of course, there were many others, but I'm just saying this was a cartel hit. This was the cartel getting rid of their risks. This cartel tied a group because there were audits going on, because Richard was reporting he was a whistleblower. There were audits going on. There was investigations going on, which included investigating in that Silla Vista Walmart, because it was, everyone knows, if you're in El Paso, that Walmart is the Walmart that has the biggest cartel presence in there. And you can look in just in the news, you can see that it was Walmart was being investigated for money laundering using gift cards and their banking, their financial system. And so, yeah, they wanted to divert attention from their investigations. They wanted to divert attention so that they could keep their cartel tied activities going, their network. And of course, Richard was a whistleblower for that. They had to silence him. And then they used Patsy. They used Patsy as a Patsy because he's part of them, right? He is part of the El Paso cartel tied criminal network. And they used him as much as they could. If they could have, he wasn't even supposed to live through it. And this whole um, 4chan manifesto, his motives for the manifesto was not what they wanted. It was not uploaded on 4chan. It was uploaded on 8chan. He kept saying 4chan. He didn't know what it said. He absolutely said he didn't want the media to think that he was a white supremacist because that's like their default. Um, it's so damning for the narrative that Bob Moore put out there. It really is. It's very good to get this truth excreted out, right? We need to excrete it out. We need to add that pressure. And Dan Bongino just did that with this post that everyone's talking about, where he's saying, "Oh, I'm never going to be the same." They're like, "Oh, what is this so awful? What is it so awful?" Well, it is a weaponization of our law enforcement, of our intelligence community, of our judicial system, of our military to do harm, um, to our country. It is treason. It really is treason because we have been at war. We have been at war. We've been at war, and they're just while we are deployed and everything, they are committing these crimes. So we'll see what happens with Obama. I hear more and more pressure is on the Clintons. It looks like the Clintons um, might get their indictment. Um, so everything is uh, really interesting, and $1.2 billion for Fort Bliss for this migrant. That seems like a lot of money to me. I don't like that. I don't like that at all. We'll see how that deal gets handled because, uh, yeah, we don't want another death camp, right? We don't want. This is like a deportation, right? A deportation is kind of like Alligator, Alcatraz down there in Florida. So, we have our eyes open. We have our eyes open on Chihuahua, Mexico. We have our eyes open in Washington, D.C. We have our eyes open in El Paso. And, we're coming out with more and more evidence all the time because that's our duty. That's our duty. That is the chief end of man, to glorify God and enjoy Him forever, to not let this kind of criminal behavior dominate our country, right? It has to be brought to a stop, and they have to be held accountable for this. And they'll never, they'll keep going until we get a backbone and we hold them accountable according to our laws to the crimes that they've committed. So thank you so much, everybody. And